And around 500 former teachers have signed up to return to school in England to help tackle staff shortages caused by COVID. That's according to the government.
This comes after an appeal by the Education Secretary, Nadeem Zahawi, urging people with teaching experience to temporarily return to the profession. Here's our education correspondent, Elaine Dunkley.
It's 7 a.m. and the phones haven't stopped ringing.
It's just to let you know I've got some work Tuesday, Thursday.
Schools across the Midlands desperate for supply staff.
I'll have a look for a cover supervisor. I'll ring you back in 5. Okay.
We're the busiest we've ever been. If you're a head teacher calling us at 7 o'clock, you're going to struggle, and that's just the reality that we're faced with.
From caretakers through to teachers, this recruitment agency has supplied staff to 700 schools, and the bookings are still coming in.
There's just not enough teachers out there and teaching assistants out there. A good day for me is when we're able to fill all our requirements. We pride ourselves on long-term relationships. We pride ourselves on how good we are at matching candidates to schools. A bad day is your 7:30, 8 o'clock calls come in. Schools, we need this, we need that. And you're having to say, oh, we've got no one on our availability.
This is Mayfield School in Birmingham. Staffing is in crisis because of COVID. All the children here have special educational needs.
Every class has at least, I would say, 2 to 3 agency members of staff. We've had to shut classrooms. Young people have got very complex medical needs, very complex learning presentations and styles. So you can't just find an agency member just to cover them. That has a massive impact on the young person. I can't see us getting through sort of this term without any more class closures.
I think the worst bit for me is coming into a new class like every day and just trying to get to grips with how each child is.
So it hasn't fully gone hard, but you can see the difference.
We have agency staff in here now, and she is a nice teacher, and once you get to know the person, it's nice to hear their story from where they come from, what other school they might come from.
Meanwhile, back at Aspire People Recruitment, retired head teacher Paul McIntyre and former teacher Neelam Raju have come in to talk to staff.
So what sort of thing are you sort of looking at?
The agency signing up retired teachers. It follows an appeal from the government to help deal with staff absences. Neelam is keen to get started.
I think more so it was really to help and to support my colleagues. And really just make a difference. I think once you're in a classroom, I think it's just a bit of a natural instinct. Things do come back to you.
But for Paul, it's a no.
I think it's more there's a bit of anxiety, would-be anxiety amongst particularly older professionals about going into schools again when they see the headlines about lack of ventilation, which they would have to endure.
Supply staff have helped ensure schools can stay open and in-class learning continues. At Judge Meadow Community College in Leicester, it's maths teacher Bhavesh's second day.
I think the challenge has always been the behaviour aspect of it, because I'm sure when I was younger as well, when you know there's a supply teacher coming in, it's how much can you get away with in terms of your behaviour and stuff. So that's always going to be a challenge.
I believe 12 members of staff that are currently tested positive. Potentially collapse some classes and also use some senior leaders to cover those classes as well.
The government says schools can apply for additional funding to cover the cost of supply staff. But for pupils, it's more disruption.
I feel like I'm missing out on my education if perhaps I do have a supply teacher, and it's that uncertainty with what's going to happen with our GCSEs.
Having a lot of supply teachers kind of takes a chunk out of the learning of our subjects.
The supply teachers that I've had, they give us the work and they just leave us to it, rather than the teachers that we normally have. They give us the work, they explain it because they know, they teach the subject.
For many schools, it's been a stressful start of term. Back at the agency, more challenges to deal with.
Some of our supply staff themselves are calling us back up and saying they've done a lateral flow test in the morning and they themselves are positive. You can imagine the pressure that's putting on an already pressurised system that was creaking before.
Good afternoon, Fahan.
Demand for emergency cover is increasing, with supply staff in very short supply. Elaine Dunkley, BBC News.